we go. Oops, as my earbud comes out. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm here with Bob Ewing. If you missed the first episode, you can watch it. It's on YouTube, and I will share a link in a little while as well. But we're going to kind of do a part 2 today, and I'm glad to have everybody here. I'm really glad to have Bob. Bob's amazing, and he's going to get us into his process a little bit and how he has been able to be so prolific as well as keep it going. Because I think a lot of times people just want to end kind of a project that they do every day and they look forward to the end of it. And you haven't. You've kept it going. So I'm excited to have you back. And so give us a little bit, for anybody who missed the first one, who doesn't know about you maybe, give us a little bit of your background, how you got into lettering and design. What happened to Bob? Bob? I see you, but then I click you. Are you there? Well, we're having a little technical difficulty, I think. He turned into his profile pic. Yeah, he did, Brian. I'm going to text him real quick and see if I can get him back on, because it looks like maybe he needs to refresh. I can't believe this happened. This happened last time. Boogers. Me too, Jason. I hope you don't have to run away. Let's see. Sorry, there's not much going on. It's really cold here today. I'm trying to text him. Sorry, guys. Oh, there's Bob. Two Bobs.
I'm back.
Yeah. There's two of you now.
That's scary.
Okay. Tell us about your background. Oh, no. I hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I don't know what happened. You froze, so I just restarted everything. So.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear now?
Yeah, I'm good. Can hear everything.
So, just tell us about your background.
Cool. Yeah. So first, thanks for having me on again. Obviously, I'm a fan of the show, and I appreciate the opportunity to share. And thanks for everyone for showing up and for the support. It's been like a huge part of my personal growth, and something that it kind of keeps you going. Whether it's a big, I don't know, it's a big deal. So it means a lot to me, all the support I've gotten and continue to get. So yeah. So background, I started out small school, grew up, on a farm, so to speak. Always did things with my hands. Always enjoyed drawing, playing Legos, G.I. Joes, all the fun stuff as a kid. And then I thought I wanted to be an architect, so I went to Ball State and got accepted to their architecture program, which was a big deal at the time. And I quickly realized, not quickly, 3.5 years in, I realized I didn't want to be an architect. And so that led to a couple different things. I left Ball State. I was an electrical engineer, or I'm not an electrician, commercial electrician for a concrete company, the largest concrete company in the Midwest, IMI. So I did that, which was dirty, but I learned a lot. And then I got sick of winters and moved to Florida for a year, just north of Daytona, and did trim carpentry and window and door installation. And then through that, I got together, me and my wife, kind of current wife, like not obviously wasn't my wife at the time. We started dating long distance. I've known her for a long time. She's from Indiana, and of course I moved to Florida, and that's when she started. That's when I finally convinced her, I think, that she should date me. So we dated long distance. I moved back to Indiana, and at that point I had like just a job and like doing window repair for a company, and I like quickly realized that I needed to do something different with my life, and that's when I made the decision to go back to school, to community college in Indianapolis, for design. I had to work. That was important. It was inexpensive, and I had to work and go to school at the same time. And it really turned out better than I ever could imagine. The teachers there were amazing, and really helped me realize that what I loved about architecture was design, and not so much architecture. So that like kind of started to shape who I was. I worked for a print shop, a little digital print shop in the beginning. That was really my first foray into the design, like working world. That was pretty influential because it allowed me to learn some of the end process that I didn't necessarily know, and which I know now is like super important in any design job. Like in any project, you have to know how it's going to get printed. You have to consider those things. So I learned a lot there, and then now I'm on at my second agency. So I work for Element 3 here in Indianapolis. We do basically marketing and advertising across the board, anything from like traditional to non-traditional to inbound. So it's good. I've been here about 8 months now, and I couldn't be like happier. We have an awesome team here, and we're doing big things, and it's a really good feeling. Like I really feel like I belong. So it's nice. So
And
I think
they're utilizing some of your skills, maybe more so than what you were doing at your other job.
Yeah, I think it's more collaborative here. I'm more a part of the process, where that wasn't always the case in my previous employer. So although we're growing and we're trying to figure out what some of those processes are, like we're at least all involved. So it's a group decision, and like the culture here just feels, like a fit in. And then, as most of you guys know, if you follow me, I have happily married for what will be, I think, the 7 years in May, and have 2 kids. My daughter just turned 3, and my son is like 3.5 months.
So
The short.
Pardon? Are you there? Did you get stuck again? Booger snot. Crappy Pappy. We do these tests, and then we never have trouble. Ever. So, Bookers. Hopefully he'll come back. Refresh, Bob, refresh. Oh, there he's back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. It keeps freezing, so.
Well, if it freezes, just refresh.
Yeah, that's what I did. So.
Sorry, everybody. So we're gonna.
No,
I'm sorry, Bob. It's like I told them when it happened. It never happens during the test, and I always do a test. Even though I've had you on before, we just still do a test. So
Yep.
One thing, Bob is an incredible letterer. He did a 365 project that wasn't a 365 project. It was just an improvement himself. He didn't stop. He's kept going. So, how did you decide on lettering? So I know you really like design kind of all your life. You didn't realize that was what the part of architecture you liked. But what drew you into lettering?
It was kind of the idea of something custom, like completely, like I knew like people that were doing lettering were starting and sharing their process, were starting with sketches and actually hand drawing something and then finishing it out, whether it's with pen or whether you're vectorizing it or something like that. So there's something always super intriguing about that process, about creating something by hand and not just like starting on the computer. And then it just feels, even though they're polished, there's something like you can just tell it's handmade. It just has like a real nice like quality about it. So I don't know. I've always just had like an affinity for it. So it was just something that always struck me as something that I would just consume it. The more I'd follow more people and take in more and more about it. So, and then that just led to me like realizing that like I loved lettering and that I'd like needed to start doing it. I'd done a couple projects here and there like that were not great, but like kind of dabbling in that world, and I finally just made the commitment to like start doing it. Like you said, it was a wireless thing, or I mean, sorry,
It's okay.
it wasn't a 365. It was just a commitment to like practice daily. So.
And you really like to look at and how you're improving, and I think that that's something that I really caught my eye. I mean, I sat with you at a table at Creative South last year, and you had awesome work, but then to follow you and really see that you really kind of analyze and you really look at stuff, and I think your eye gets better as you keep practicing. I think that's one of the things that's really impressive, because a lot of times people won't share where they've screwed up or where they think they need to work, and that's something that you're so good at being humble about doing.
That was more born out of, like in the beginning, I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all. Like I would just try and recreate something that I saw, or make something new. I would like take a letter that I saw and then try and create a new word. So it wasn't always my original work, but I was still practicing. The refinement thing really came from learning more about proper letter forms. Ken Barber and Ryan Hamrick are two like mentors of mine, and really kind of have helped me realize like I just would send them stuff and they would like comment it or analyze it for me, and that's really like how you learn. That's how I kind of learned like proper letter forms. Like some letters have more color to them, so they appear, like M's and N's, so they appear darker than like a I or a O. So there's like certain tricks that you can do to make like everything consistent. So it's definitely something that like I'm still learning about and still analyzing. But I think it's an important part of the process that printing out what you're doing, or and just taking an objective look at it, like standing back, getting closer, not looking at it on your screen. It's super important, especially in the vector process for me. So it's always something that I do.
So take us through your process a little bit, like from what you decide that you're going to post, or what some things you post that are just your pencil sketches. Some have been markered or you put pen over them, and then some have been vectorized. So how do you make that decision?
There's really no, so like I have a field notes that I like carry with me, and actually it's a Creative South one from last year, and you can tell it's like beat up because it's in my pocket. I carry this like every day, and this is something I started doing around the 1 year mark, where I keep a list of, it's mostly just words of phrases or something that pops in mind. So I'll write it down because I think it might make, like, it gives me a place to go if I don't know what I'm going to letter for the day. Like no thought process that goes into that. It's just a matter of sitting down and then deciding on something to letter. Most of the stuff that gets vectored, it's for something. Early on, I would just do that to learn. At this point, I'm like, if it makes it that far, it's for a reason. I'm not like just doing it for no reason. It's going to become something bigger, or I'm testing out a new process, or a new way of trying something. But there's not really any rhyme or reason to it. But like I try and incorporate actual work into my daily lettering. So a couple things, if I can like work in a word or part of a word, if I can't like give away what I'm working on, right, then I'll just do a part of the word, or do a word and like just kind of work out a style, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So are you printing them out? So say you've vectorized, or let's just say you vectorized one, and then are you printing it out to see where you change, and then you rescan in, or you make your adjustments? How's that working?
Yeah, so I guess, to answer more about my process, so I start small, really small pencil sketches, like the size of like an inch by inch, or 2 inches, like real tiny pencil, and then also with brush, like a brush pen, like if I'm working out how to like kind of flow, or working out letter forms, it's really tiny. and then I will take that and make it a little bit bigger. So I'll blow it up a little bit bigger, to like 4 twice that size or 3 times that size. And then usually at that point, that's like what I post daily. It's about, they're anywhere from like 3 to 5 inches. Sometimes they're bigger than others. And then I'll scan that in, and then I'll start vectoring. It was kind of an unneeded process, an unneeded step in my process. I realized that I was just spending a lot of time outlining and coloring, and
Right.
I feel like I'm a pretty good colorer, so I didn't really need more practice of that, and it literally cut like my daily lettering, like in half. So the daily stuff. So then I'll go to vector. I'll do point placement, and I work through the Bezier curves as I'm doing it, and then it's usually not that great. I can usually see like right away like what needs to change. And usually it's a consistency, like keeping the letters the same width across the board, heights and stuff like that like you just don't notice when it's pencil since it's rough. And so I'll go through a couple rounds of that. I always copy or save layers, like so I'll drag them off to the side, or I'll copy and paste in place and turn them off. And then at some point when I feel like it's pretty good, then I print it out. Try and do that refinement mostly. So
I have a picture of one of your vector pieces, and what I like is that this really helps somebody, like when you're trying to figure out the process, when you see that you're actually drawing each individual letter, or the pieces that are coming, like the A and the C are one, but you're joining, really it's a really long A, but the C is really its own letter. I think this is a really nice piece to share, because it helps us get in there and realize that we're not. I mean, will you ever separate those and join them like with the Pathfinder tool, or do you keep them separate?
Very not that way they can't like go in and make adjustments. The reason I do each letter separately is that allows me to quickly. A lot of times, like kerning and spacing is really big. Like that's one thing that I always work through. That's never right in pencil when I'm sketching it. So like just being able to work the letters independently is really big. So that's why I don't do like one big outline of the whole thing. I do letter by letter, and that's really just for refinement. And
so one other thing I really like is that, like, I'm gonna pick another image. I love how much you're going in, and you're it should come up in a second, that you're really being really picky about some things, which when your eye isn't refined, it looks like you're being really just nitpicky. But the better you get, the more refinement you can see. How much has that changed how you design?
I think for me, like just in the broad sense of like lettering has kind of changed my whole process and how I view design altogether. I'd gotten away from sketching, even though like one of the things I really love about lettering is like just the act of putting pencil to paper. Like I enjoy drawing, and that's why I really draw letters. I'm not necessarily a calligrapher. I'm not really that proficient with a brush pen. Like the whole, like people like Ryan Hamrick comes to mind, who can just like brush pen out a word really fast. Like that's not really me. Like I can do it roughly and then retrace it, like, or basically draw it small and then draw it bigger with a pencil. Like that's really where my skill set is starting to refine. But so like as far as design, I do a lot of sketching ahead of time now, like, or in that first step. Like I can't emphasize enough how important in the concepting phase, like how important sketching is, and not going like straight to the computer. There's some like things that can happen accidentally, or just the way, like at least for me, the way my mind works. Like I just work through things faster that way, and I think so. Lettering and working through like how that process is for me has really kind of changed to refine my whole design process, and it's kind of made me step back and and start to really nitpick things or look at things under a microscope, which I think is like what starts to separate people. It's that like taking it to the end. Even though with design there's no like 100%, but there's that saying where like you can get to 90%, but then it takes the same amount of time to get to 100% if there is that. So some of that like refinement is it's just what happens. I think it's just over time. Like it's just stuff that I've learned. So.
Well, and it does take time to learn that stuff. It's not like you just come out and you can do it. I think sometimes people will want to rush that part, but really I think we're doing our design on paper and then we just use the computer for production, or at least that's what I teach my students. So that's not my phone, just so people know, because I unplug my phone, and I did not unplug mine today. No, it's fine. It's totally fine if it hears. Just as long as it's not mine. Mine would be much louder and annoying of a sound. So it adds a ton of value for you to print stuff out and keep refining. How many of those steps do you have? Like, how many printouts will you do?
It just really depends. Like, there's no like set process. For me, it's like initial sketch, larger sketch, maybe even a larger one if I think I need it, and then it's vector, and that's like the rough process. There's no set amount. Like for fact that I think is the Live the Dream one that is that what you're showing. So that D, like it gave me all kinds of fits. So I literally printed it out. I redrew that quite a few times before I finally felt like it was right. So sometimes it's just a letter that I'm working on. Like if I print it out, I'll be pretty happy with something, and it might just be one thing, and you just can't get it right in Illustrator. So I'll print it out and just redraw it. And it's not so much like fine tuning. It's like it can be just something like that.
All right. So do you want to talk about this one a little bit? Let me scroll up a little bit so they can see the beginning. Yeah. Do you want to talk about this, the Live Your Dream project?
Yeah, it's fine. So this just really like shows that process that I was just talking about. I started. There were a couple. So there's a step before this. There's a couple like smaller sketches, and this was a really quick project for SAA, School of Advertising Art in Kettering, Ohio, just south of Dayton. Matthew Flick had kind of contacted me on like a Thursday, and they needed something by the next Tuesday. And like it was like I don't remember if it was a holiday weekend, but I was out of town all weekend with no internet, so like we were at the lake house. So like I was away, so literally I cranked it out over the weekend, which is fine because I can take a picture with my phone and then be able to draw, or get it to the computer. So yeah, I started with the sketch, and then this is when I was still inking things. That inking, like the middle one, that step wouldn't really be there. So it was that inking is just the inking this outline that's on the far left, and then I did a much bigger sketch to kind of refine all those things, and that is what that one is on the far top right. That's like twice the size of the one in the middle top. And then printed it out and just kind of doing a little bit of fine tuning, and that was on like Monday, probably when I got back in town. And then the final shirt, and this campaign has been awesome. So they did that. It was their idea. They just came to me and asked me to letter those 3 words in kind of that style, and kind of my like big chunky like brush pen style, and then they finished it all out and blew it out into a whole campaign, and it's been really successful for them. I think it's been really well received. It's all about reaching out to high schoolers and trying to get them this whole idea of living your dream, and if your dream is to come to art school, then you should go there. And it's far more successful than I think any of us ever imagined. It was just in CA, the type annual, which is awesome. Like that's a huge, like I've looked at that magazine forever. So to be in it was awesome. And then I just found out that it won some local Addy Awards in Dayton this weekend. So it's going on to the national or to the regionals. So
Cool.
it's been a really fun project, and they're really great client and good people to work with. So, and they're doing really cool things over there. So
did you know them before you got the job, or did he find you through Instagram? Because I think you got a lot of.
So,
go ahead.
me and Drew drove over. Draplin was there talking, and me and Drew Hill, who our director who I work with, and then we drove over there like one evening because Draplin was in town speaking. So we just decided to go, and that's when we met Matthew and kind of saw the school for the first time. And then I think after that, yeah, he had followed me, and it still came through social media, and I think that's where he had kind of seen more and more of my work, and kind of realized kind of put two and two together what they were looking for, and that like I might be able to provide that style of lettering that they were looking for. So he reached out to me about that.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of that social media experience, because it's been a big part. I don't know if you knew Ryan Hamrick or Ken Barber before, or if you just knew them via the internet. But you posting things, getting a response back, did that help with the refinements in the beginning? Because I'm trying to think of how can people who are trying to improve on anything, could be illustration, could be type, could be anything, how can they get better, and what could they do? Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, social media has played a huge role. In fact, I was just talking, Brian Patrick Todd from Louisville was in town last night for like an AIG event, and we were just talking about this. It's been like, it's been huge for me, the support that I've gotten and like the growth from that support has been amazing, and like I can't like I said, I can't thank those people enough like for their continued support. I just kind of was fond of, like, always really appreciated Ken Barber and Ryan Hamrick's work, so I would just follow them, and I would try and engage in a way that I thought that I could, like commenting or asking questions, like just trying to learn little bits of information anywhere I could, and then that led to like starting to build a relationship with them, and then as I got better, like their comments, and like starting to respect like what I'm doing, and they see that like I'm not just someone that I'm like serious about it, that I take this serious, and I'm really looking to get better, and then that led to like an email that I would send them like, hey, I really appreciate your work, like I have something that if you have an answer, a moment, if you could take a look at it, like I'd really like to see how I could take this piece to the next level. And that's really how that happened. And I can't like say like most of like what I've learned, like all these people I look up to, they're like normal people, just like me. They're no different. They have kids and families, and they're like hustling to get by. So like don't hesitate to like reach out to someone. And if they don't get back with you for like a week, like that's just part of it, like sometimes people aren't like really responsive, because like I know from my personal experience I'm not good at emails, so I'm like somewhat, I don't always respond right away to stuff, but don't hesitate to reach out to people. I mean, we're all if you're putting yourself out there, then you should expect those kind of questions and stuff like that. So
did you get feedback from different platforms, or was it really just Instagram?
For me, Instagram's been the biggest thing. Dribbble always helps. So yeah, Dribbble and Instagram were probably the two biggest. I'm always driving people there to one of those two places, even if it's like through Twitter or the occasional Facebook. But those two places, I mean, and you don't always get feedback. You really have to ask for it, and some of it's not always great. Sometimes you get feedback and you don't want it. And that's just part of it. You just kind of have to take it for what it's worth. But I mean, it's always good to have someone else's eyes on it. So
you had you started this kind of improvement, and have you always been like that? Always wanted to improve?
Yeah, I mean, I always had like wanted to learn new things. I'm not much of a reader. But I do like to consume, like whether it's just like looking at things visually. I'm a real big component of Pinterest. Like I just like laughing about it. I think I have like 8,000 posts or like pins on Pinterest.
Right.
But it's it's a place. I used to do that like on my desktop. Like I would just gather stuff and like sort them out by folders. So when Pinterest came along, I was like, this is amazing. So I was always I love to consume things and learn more. And for me, like that visual consumption, like where I'm just like looking at other people's lettering and then taking a closer look at it. Like okay, this is really awesome, but like why do I like it, and like how, and then even farther, like how did they do that? And sometimes that leads to like trying to recreate that effect to learn something new. But really just like diving, not just like flash looking at stuff, like really diving into a piece and be like really trying to figure out like what you like about it, and like how you can like learn from that.
Definitely. So, all right, did you have any people who were, when maybe you weren't asking for feedback, they gave you feedback? Well, or like I call those like the dream killers. Like, why are you doing this project, Bob? You know, you're wasting time. Every night you're spending doing lettering. Did you have anybody like that?
Not not really. I mean, occasionally someone will make like a weird comment, and I would just be like, I don't know why you would say that to any, like, especially someone you don't really
Right.
know. But then it's like you're putting yourself out there, so it's somewhat expected. I've been fortunate enough that no, I haven't really had anyone that's been like a dream killer. People have been really supportive of my work and what I'm doing. So
So not even family members, because I remember I mean I love my parents to death, and my mom watches, so hey mom, but I remember, you know, they were like, this is a lot of time you're spending doing this design recharge thing, Diane. You know this, you know, maybe you should do something else. Because sometimes it's those people that are like family that don't really understand how much it's letting you grow or something. Did you have anybody, like your wife was obviously supportive?
no, I think, I mean, everyone's been really supportive. My wife's been beyond supportive with this whole thing. In fact, like kind of the next process for me is like figuring out like what's next for me. Like when do I stop this daily? Like at what point does the daily lettering, am I not getting as much out of it as I was? Because I know I'm like approaching that point. Like would I be better served working on larger projects and showing more like process from start to finish as I start to have more projects to work on? So at some point it's going to go away, and I know that, the daily stuff at least. I just don't know when that is. My wife, like I was kind of laughing about this. We were laughing about this the other day because I was like, I kind of want to get to 2 years, and not any reason besides like I just want to. And she was like, well, what's another like 130 like days? You know, you've been doing it for 500 days now, like. So, but I just know like my like literally, even though I try, like I don't let this affect my home life with my kids. In some sense, it has affected like my home life with my wife, because when I'm doing this, it's almost always at night, and we're like sitting on the couch, and even though we're right next to each other, we're not necessarily conversing. We're like watching TV, and then I'm lettering, and she like usually will fall asleep. So I don't know if I like have to get up like super early and do things in the morning, so I like can get some of that back and start to like get some of that family life balance back, which is always like a really hard thing. So that's just like kind of the next step for me. It's like working out how, like what's next. So.
Right. All right, so take us through some of your images that you sent, if you don't mind. So this is probably one of the biggest ones, physically biggest. This is Nixon, and this is a big piece.
Yeah, so this is like awesome for me because anytime I can, like my kids are like my biggest inspiration. My daughter like cracks me up on a daily basis, and then also like frustrates me on a daily basis. Like not as much as my wife because she's home with them all the day, but anytime I can combine like my kids and lettering, like that's like the best thing ever. So like my wife actually had this idea. She sent me a photo of like a picture similar to this, and it had like a real script hand lettering, and I think it was photoshopped in. And I have a photography background, so I still have some of these backdrops. So I was like, I just want to letter this out real big and like actually do it. And part of that is like the challenge of I don't really work that big, so it was kind of nice to get bigger. It took me forever to color that in. It took me like 2 nights. So I sketched it all out Saturday afternoon while the kids were napping. I started coloring it and outlining it Saturday night, and then I had to stop because my arm was hurting, like it was cramping up, and I had to finish it Sunday morning. But it was, yeah. So that's like a really fun. That was like awesome, and I'm gonna keep doing this. So I don't know how it'll evolve, but I'll do it like for 6 months and like 9 months in a year. So we'll figure something out. But it's always kind of funny because he's kind of, even though he's like tall and like not real like chubby, he's still like a beefcake, like especially compared to my daughter, how skinny she was at that age. So it was just kind of this tying in. He's 3 months old and like this sign painting like butcher shop like menu kind of thing. So that's where that came from. But yeah, that was my wife's idea originally. So.
Well, good for her. It's a great one. Sorry, I have to keep turning away, but that's the only way to get. So, do you want to talk about the take chances one?
We just recently got Creative Mornings in Indianapolis, which is awesome. It's really anytime you can like start to bring the creative community together is a good thing. So they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do the poster for the first event. So anytime, so I did it like pro bono just to help them out because I think it's an awesome cause and I think it's really going to be really good for the city. I always try and do something new, maybe, or something out of my comfort zone. So think like Ian Bernard, who runs, he's from the UK, does a lot of lettering. I'd seen a style like this from him, so I'd reached out to him to like get some advice on like how he does it, and he gave me some pointers. So it was kind of cool. So like really, this is like watered down acrylic. I didn't have like India ink, so I just watered down some black acrylic and got like a big fat paintbrush that I had, and I did this. I think I sent you another picture that has like a bunch of them stacked up. I don't know. I spent one night. We were watching Colts. It was like Sunday night. We were watching the Colts play or something, and I did like, I don't know, 30 or 50 sheets until I finally felt like I got it in a place where it was cool. So it was just about trying something new.
Well, and I think that's something that you're really good at, Bob. I think that you always are pushing yourself and you're trying to find growth in other areas. And I think that that's one thing that you're kind of a forefront, a leader in doing that, and you're sharing what you're learning. How important is it to keep challenging yourself?
I think it's super important. You have to be somewhat uncomfortable to kind of grow. I feel like sometimes you got to take risks. It's super easy, and I've done this. I kind of fell into towards the end of 365, or the first year of my thing. I kind of fell into like a standard style, and I still kind of developed a style for myself. But I think it's just important to keep trying things new, like continue to learn any opportunity you can, and like don't be afraid to say like yes to some things, like that live your dream thing. Like that was like one of the first like lettering pieces that I did, or it was like in the first couple that I did like for actual hire that someone like reached out for me, and like I was scared to like say yes to that, especially with the timeline, because there's a lot of pressure in that. But I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. So like sometimes you just gotta say yes, and then figure it out afterwards.
Well, and like the take chances thing, you're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna get some information, and then I'm gonna try it. Especially for pro bono stuff, it's nice to push yourself to try something new to see how well it worked. And I think those are good opportunities.
Well, and that's a good opportunity. Like pro bono stuff like that's a good opportunity to learn something new or try something new, because typically they're coming to you because they know you'll do something like that's of good quality. So they're like, just do whatever you want. So when you have an opportunity like that, you might as well like seize it and try and learn something new out of it.
So I know that you had a couple areas of notable growth that we had talked about before. One was you were just speed, your time. You got faster as you grew, and then you're also just lettering abilities increased. Was there anything else where you saw like significant growth?
Really just the art of like drawing, the hand-eye coordination. Like that's the biggest thing I think I've like learned through all this, and I'm still like refining that skill.
So what about confidence? Because sometimes when we draw so tiny, it has to do with your confidence. Really, I think just from looking back, because before the last time we did it, I saw huge confidence as you kept going.
Yeah, that really started confidence was a big thing for sure. And that's like design, like confidence in like my like personal life, but then also confidence in my ability to do the job and do it good. That all kind of started around Creative South last year, I think for me. That was kind of a turning point for me for sure. Not just like that I was like super like recharged and like from the event, but some of the support from some of the people that I got there like really just kind of like starts to build that like or help with that confidence level. So and that I mean I think that's the more you do anything, you're going to be more confident in it. So it's just kind of the natural progression of things, I feel like.
And I think a lot of times you just gotta keep going. Even when you don't feel confident, that's when you just gotta keep pushing through because at some point you will. You will. But
Yeah.
for you, you looked at a lot of other designers and on Instagram and Pinterest. Jeremy wanted to know if there was any books that you recommended that for beginning or aspiring letterers.
Yes. So there's like any Doyle Young book like that I don't own that I'm still putting off buying because they're expensive. Like all of those have been recommended to me like at least 20 or 30 times. So anything by Doyle Young, that guy was a master. Any of those are amazing. Someone said the Mary Kay McDevitt lettering handbook. Friend Kevin Fisher sent me that like just randomly. He was like, "Hey, I think you could really use this book. That's an awesome resource." For me, I get a lot of inspiration from like ephemera and old designs. From like anything that's old packaging. A big proponent in that, like Alan Peters and his whole badge hunting. Like that's a huge inspiration for me. Like some of the craftsmanship that was put into some of those pieces that were like hand done and then recreated are amazing. So that's a big one for me. Like I said, I like to look at pictures. I'm not a big reader of words. So
there are these books that are just filled with pictures, though, Bob. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, there's so many like advertising books. I know Shauna pointed in her talk. She pointed out a whole bunch of books that were like awesome. So I know you can reference that for some good ones for sure. But
so Alma is asking for your website, so I'm going to go ahead and post that. And the Doyle, is it D-O-Y-L-E or what is it?
It's Doyled. So it's D-O-Y-O. Let's see. There's a D on the end of it. Yeah, so D-O-Y-A-L-D, Young.
Oh, there we got all these people helping. Thank you. Cool.
He was a master, so all of his books are amazing.
And I know he has. Jeremy was asking about books. I know he has Shauna's book because he took a picture of it on Instagram when he got it. So Shauna's book's really good too, and she shared that earlier. What do you think? And you talked about it a little bit about working small to begin with, and then going big. How do you think that helps you? And I know confidence really came about later as you kept going. Can you talk about just, I mean, like the beefcake thing? I'm sure you started small, but then going to such a big thing.
Right. For me, that's like thumbnail sketching, and that's kind of like my background in designing. And when you're concepting, just to do little tiny thumbnail sketches, just to try and work out like as many ideas as you can, as quickly as you can. So that's kind of where it came from. It's just a matter. The reason I do it so small is because I can do more faster until I land on something. Although I try and think about like the daily letterings. I try and think about something like throughout the day that I'm going to letter later that day. So there's a little more like thought process that goes into it. So I usually will know or have a pretty good idea what I'm going to do some days, most days. So
what about you have some great little illustrations that you've done in your Instagram feed, and they're kind of hidden in there because you kind of hide them in there, but they're awesome. Do you enjoy that part of it, the illustrating part? And I know sometimes it takes longer, but again, if you practice a lot more, you get faster. Is that an area you want to work on?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. That goes back to that whole like pro bono thing. I think some of the illustrations I have like on my site are like for a poster show that we do here that like supports the Indie Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about trying something new, or trying something different, not always doing something as expected. So I enjoy illustration. There's people that are far better than me at it. Like Nick Slater, that guy blows my mind. I don't know how, and like Justin Mazzell, like some of those people are amazing. So it's something I enjoy, but it's not something that I probably spend a great deal of time on. I know I can do it, and I know I can do a couple different styles. So if it works into a design, that just comes from being a little bit versatile and trying to be able to. Not to say that there's not times to hire a designer to do
Right.
to help out, or an illustrator, because there's something to be said about like hiring a photographer or hiring an illustrator to like help out on something and collaborating. I'm a firm believer in that, but sometimes that's not necessary. You don't have the budget to do it, so sometimes you just have to like make do and do what you can. So
Right. So where's the next place of growth for you, or what are you working on?
I've been like really like work has been different for me. I'm more fulfilled like in my daily work. So that's huge. That's something I've been working towards, which has allowed me to take on less freelance stuff. A lot of times I did more freelance work because I wasn't necessarily doing the work I wanted to do at work. So on my day job. So like being more fulfilled at work has really kind of let me focus more on lettering. And obviously you're not going to get hired for things. That people don't know you do. So like lettering, since that's mostly what people see of mine, I've been getting more inquiries about that. But like right now, I'm just trying to figure out how I can take some of this content that I create daily and start to create some bigger pieces that I can start selling and sharing with people. I think that's the next like natural step for me is opening a store and start to share some of these things and see if people will actually buy them. So hopefully. Hopefully they will. So I think that's really what's next for me.
So what about like and that's awesome. I can't wait till you have something that we can buy a T-shirt of. I can't wait. So get it up there.
Thank you. It's coming.
So what about? I know. So I know you started listening to podcasts on your commute. How has that changed, and which ones do you think have influenced you the most that you would recommend?
Yeah, so lately it kind of started a month ago. Actually, I was talking to Drew Hill, who was telling me that he's been doing that. So I was like, it's something I've been wanting to do, and I just haven't for whatever reason. It's just a way to add value to my daily commute, essentially. I listen to it while I drive to and from work, which is about, I don't know, a half hour to 45 minutes each way. So I was just listening to like radio stations and music that I probably didn't really care to listen to, So it's just a way to add value to my day and learn something new and not have to read. So I've been listening to Sean West's podcasts almost exclusively. He generates so much content. He's doing like 2 a week. So and I've been a subscriber to his newsletter since the beginning. So that's just, I think right now I'm just going back through some of those and listening to those, and it's kind of nice because I'm learning something new. And also like he has a really calming like voice, and it kind of like calms it, like when you're driving sometimes it's frustrating, so it's kind of nice to like, I don't know, it's kind of a nice to set the tone like for the day and then like the end of the day. It's been really good. I can't recommend it enough. So that guy's a genius, and he's openly sharing a whole bunch of content for free. So
definitely. All right, so how do you decide? So I know you're kind of at that stage. You want to do lettering pieces. So how will you decide? Do you have an idea of what you want to do, the next kind of phase of growth, or do you just kind of let it spark fly?
Yeah, I have like in my field notes, I have a list of things that like I want to do, whether they're larger phrases that mean something to me, or like T-shirt ideas or something like that. So I have like a list that I've been keeping, and some of those are like I'm just kind of letting them. They're not really a full idea yet, or I don't really know how I want to execute them. So I will spend the time, however long that takes, to do it like right, so I feel it's right. So like part of my sketchbook, like once it'll go from my field notes into my sketchbook, and I'll have like half full pages of things, and then I leave space like to continue like that exploration when I actually have time, or like sometimes you just see things and you'll be like, oh, this like influences, or like this makes sense for this, or so just kind of, I don't know, just kind of letting those things naturally come to fruition. I'm not like in a hurry to like get those things out necessarily.
So you're letting them go kind of organically.
Yeah.
You're not pushing them. And I think that's smart.
Yeah, I don't. That's just. It seems to be kind of a natural. I feel like some of the better pieces I've done have kind of happened like that, or it's like I know I wouldn't have got to this place like if I hadn't have gone through this step, or I hadn't gone and saw this person that day or something like that. So
Right.
it's just kind of those influences that you can't really anticipate.
Right. All right. So last time we had a couple questions from the audience, and I didn't get to all of them, so I'm going to get one of them today. So hopefully he's watching or listening. So it was, do most designers use Wacom tablets or iPads for their drawing, or is there another tool that's better? And do you have any suggestions? Like when you're in the vectorizing process, what do you use?
So I always start with pencil and paper, and that's, like I said, that's super important whether you're designing or lettering. I think it's an important step that is often overlooked and doesn't get enough credit. Like, that's huge. So I use a Wacom tablet every day, but just as a mouse. Like, I don't.
Right.
I'll use my trackpad on my laptop if I'm at home, but like at work, I just have a Wacom tablet that I use as a mouse. So I'm not necessarily like sketching with it or anything like that. I do everything in my sketchbook first, and then scan it in or take a picture of it on my phone and email it to myself. So yeah, I don't really use it to sketch at all, but I do like that same kind of motion, and it took some getting used to like to give up my Magic Mouse and go to that. Like, there was a learning curve there, but I feel like it's been really good for me, and I enjoy it now. So.
Right. All right. So, because I have seen the big tablets that you can actually draw on, and I think that that Wacom product would be a lot different than just, I use it like a mouse. But I have done some stuff in Photoshop where I'm coloring, and so it really uses that, that it's pressure sensitive. So it's nice, but again, I think if you can use a pencil or you can use charcoal or whatever, then it's just an extension. It's just another tool that your hands don't have to get dirty. But sometimes it's good to get them dirty.
It is good to get your hands dirty.
So I know that this has been something else that maybe people have asked. I know people in social media world kind of have, this is a debate or a topic, is how do you feel about posting photos of your family? And what's your philosophy?
I do it because it's a part of me. My kids are a big influence, and they're like a super important part of my life. In fact, like, I'll notice, like, if I'll scroll down and I realize that like there's not like a picture in my Instagram feed that I can see like in recent, then it's like, okay, like, you're not, like, it's kind of a reality check for me. So for me, it's important. And that's just me. Like I said, they influence me every day. They're like the best part of my life. So it's important that people that know that about me, because I'm not like really there like first, and then it's family and lettering, and design. So they're number one for me. And like I know, I mean, it doesn't fail. Like, anytime I post a picture of kids or something, like people will unfollow me, and it's like it's part of it. Like, I'm not really that worried about it. If you can't accept that part of me, then so be it. It's not going to bother me. So yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to kind of see the inside, that back, the other side of the curtain a little bit. I think it's nice when people share a little bit of their person, and usually that's what's encouraged. You don't want it to all be that, but you have a great percentage of lettering projects, and then you have a little bit of life in there. So I think it's nice that you scroll down and see, oh no, I haven't posted a kid picture in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's still mostly lettering. There's no question about that. But yeah, I like to sprinkle those moments in, and those usually come like on the weekends, I would say, most of the time, because that's when I'm spending the most time with them. But yeah.
So we have a question from the audience. Jordan wants to know, how strict are you with your time balance of work versus freelance?
Well, I mean, work is 40 hours a week. Sometimes it's a little more. The culture here is really good. They stress work-life balance is really important, so they don't want us to work. Although this is advertising, sometimes you have to put in more hours than 40, and that's just, it happens. But they don't want that, like they don't want that to happen often. So
Right.
so it's work, and then it's family, and then it's freelance late at night or early in the morning. That's how it works for me personally. And I'm not saying that's the answer for everyone, but I try not to let those bleed over. Sometimes if I have a lunch break, I'll work on, or when I have a lunch break, if I can, squeeze in like the start of my lettering for the day or something like that, then I will.
So, all right, so last question, and it's kind of a big one. So can you talk about any of your new projects that that are coming up? I know that you're also doing some stuff at Creative South, so can you talk about that? And I can show some images as well,
Yeah.
so you tell me what to pull up, and I'll pull them up.
So yeah, like awesome. I'm doing a T-shirt design for Creative South, which will be fun. And that I like kind of agreed to do that before I realized that I'm going to be speaking with doing a Print Matters panel discussion with Nick Sombrato, Mama Sauce, and Brian French of French Paper, which is awesome. Those two dudes are good people. So I'll be doing a poster design that you'll be able to buy at Creative South. And then, like last minute, I also got thrown into a lettering, like vectoring, lettering workshop for Creative South as well with Ian Bernard. If you're not familiar with his work, you should look him up because he's incredible. So he kind of like had this idea, and so we're gonna do that together. And then yeah, I just saw Jordan threw in there. Inch by Inch is like, so I know like when I was on here in November maybe, we kind of announced, me and Drew Hill have been working on Inch by Inch. So it is launching March 2nd officially. You can go there. You'll be able to go there and sign up and become a monthly member. And not that I just got confirmation, but just a little sneak peek too. Friends of Type is going to do our first month. So they're actually going to do 4 buttons. So that'll be like, we haven't even announced that yet to anyone. So just to throw that out there. So that's awesome. So like the support for Inch by Inch has been amazing, and it's so much more work than me and Drew really ever thought it would be. This little idea to make buttons and like this idea of a monthly club and to like get more buttons has really turned into a much bigger thing. And the support of like Mama Sauce and French Papers, and then Busy Beaver Buttons from Chicago is going to be donating the buttons, and then our own Element 3 has really jumped on board, and they're like developing the site and helping us with copywriting and all that stuff to take it to the next level, which is going to make it better than like we ever could have made it, like just the two of us. So really excited about that. And then I think that's really, I promised my wife I wouldn't take on any more freelance jobs until I finished a couple photo albums that I'm like 2 years behind. So I'm not actually taking down any freelance work right now because I'm working on some personal stuff for myself. And then yeah, a few sessions. This was a pipe dream of mine to bring Ken Barber to Indianapolis because it wasn't really possible for me to go to New York. A family, it's expensive. It just wasn't feasible for me. So I've been tossing around for a couple of years. Me and Ken started this discussion about bringing him here to do a workshop, and like I would just put up the money up front and then hopes to make all my money back. I kind of presented that to my boss and my creative director, and they kind of saw the value in that and how we can make it much bigger and how it can be really good for Indianapolis. So there was born Few Sessions, which is this idea of just bringing people together to learn something and like hands-on, like one-on-one workshops, which no one is really doing in our city. So Ken Barber's doing the first one, and so we're going to do a script letter workshop March 7th here in Indianapolis. You can go to fewsessions.com, sign up. So there's still some seats available. So I think that's everything for now, I think.
I think that's a lot. I know
I have so much to do for Creative South, and then Inch by Inch is a sponsor of Creative South as well. So we'll be bringing some special button packs there that you'll only be able to get at Creative South, which will be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and you did a the thing for Mama Sauce, which again,
Yeah.
it's a screen printer and letterpress in Florida, right?
Yeah, Nick reached out through Creative South last year. I was always been a fan of their work and the brand and like how they like always share people's work that they're printing, and which is awesome. So me and Nick kind of became friends after Creative South last year, and he reached out to me to ask if I would do this lettering piece for them to like celebrate their birthday, so they could offer like a discount on letterpressing, and that actually worked out pretty good because I bartered that work into printing Nixon's birth announcements.
Oh, cool.
So, because I was like, I will actually do this, and I was like, how about we do a trade? So it came out pretty even. The trade did. I ended up letterpress, 2-color letterpress is not cheap, so I had to pay a little bit, but it was a huge discount for me. So
I'm gonna try
that
to
was a
get
fun
to
piece,
it.
but really difficult. I've never that was the most words I'd done at one time, and that was a huge struggle. There's a lot of that middle photo. There's a lot of like other sketches of me trying to figure out how I could fit all those words in. And I even went back to Nick and asked if I could take a word out because it would work better. Like trying not to, to try and take the easy way out. And he's like, "Nah, I need that in there." And I was like, "Cool." I thought that's what you'd say, but so it turned out really good. I really like that piece. So
was that a piece that you vectorized after?
yeah. So that literally that middle sketch was my final pencil sketch, and then I took that into Illustrator and like through the vector machine and vectorized it. So.
And then you also vectorized the Nixon stuff. It was
Yeah,
really
so
just
that
his name that you
yeah,
did.
that was something that was born out of, and that's something that like I never would have landed on had I not done lettering. So that's kind of a combination of maybe a font that I saw or some lettering that I saw, and then I turned it into. So that's a little more. It's not so much the hand lettering that you'd expect, but like people might not know that that's hand lettered. But yeah, that's like a fully fleshed out name that was just an idea I had that all came from a small pencil sketch. That's where it originally started, and then I was like, okay, I really like how this feels, and how can I build something around it to make a big old badge so I can get letterpressed. So.
And then that's right here is the pencil sketch.
Yeah, so that was probably the final pencil sketch before I scanned that in and vectored it.
So what about Sidecar? And then
Yeah.
we'll let you go.
Cool. So Sidecar is an interesting project. I worked on that with the awesome folks at Focus Lab who I met last year at Creative South, and they do incredible work, and they're really good about sharing process and stuff like that. And Bill actually reached out to me and was like, "Hey, how do you feel about doing something for us for no money?" And he's like, "You can totally tell me to go to hell if you want." And I just kind of chuckled about it, and like I instantly saw the value, and we kind of talked through that, and that's one of those things where I got paid from social monetary value of that was amazing for me. So that's just like, okay, I did this for them, and they're gonna share it, and they're gonna tag me, and tell people that I did that through all of their social outreach and their social networks, which are all the same networks that I'm on. So that was a thing where you don't always have to get paid money. Daniel Evans went into this last year at Creative South. Sometimes the social value of them just sharing it is enough. So it was something that's a side project of theirs that'll be launching soon. And it was a fun project. It totally didn't end up where I thought it was going to. And we went back and forth, collaborating with another designer that me and Bill went back and forth a lot, especially on that R. Like I don't know how many revisions that R went through, but it ended up in a really good place, and it wouldn't have ended up here without his input and that collaborative and the collaborative nature of that. So it was a fun project, and I think they're going to do lots of cool stuff with it. So I look forward to getting also free swag like T-shirts and buttons and stickers with that on it. So.
Well, and it's also good to connect with other people that are doing different things and that you get opportunities. So sometimes you have to have the value, you weigh the value. Oh, booger snot. Bob. it's the end anyway.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back. You're back. Oh, but I can't see you. Oh, now I can see you. Oh, bookers. Anyway, next week I'm taking the week off from Design Recharge, and then we'll be back with my friend Megan D. And I've had her on before, but she does these awesome postcards, and it's kind of like this exploring. So I'm really excited to have her on. So that'll be the first week of March, I think. So back to you, Bob. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Sorry, I'm not sure what. It's probably because I'm on Wi-Fi and I'm not like plugged in anywhere. So
it's okay.
But,
it did good all till the very end, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Well, Bob, thanks again so much for
Thank
being
you.
here and doing it. I can't wait to see you at Creative South. I hope you guys will come to Creative South, and it's creativesouthga.com. And I'm going to also share Bob's how to get in touch, or how to Bob's website again, and then also to follow him. It's Bob Ewing _ at Bob Ewing _ on Instagram and Twitter. So
yep.
Definitely follow him on Instagram for sure. And then if you want to email me, you can always email me at diane@designrecharge.org, or you can sign up at trying to find my bit.ly. Let's see. Oh no, that's a different one. Anyway, I can't find it. But it's if you want to sign up for the newsletter, it's just designrecharge.org, and you can sign it up. I can't wait. A bunch of people will be at Creative South, so it's a great time to lock in your ticket and get in some of those workshops, because you're doing a workshop also the day before the conference starts.
Yeah, and it's all about lettering and like vectorizing lettering. So I think it'll be really good. So looking forward to it.
And Lenny, nobody's going to boo you. You need to. We'll give you that confidence. Can't wait. Anyway, Bob, thanks so much. You're super inspiring, and I'm really glad. And Bob, Andrew are going to be back on at the end of May to talk about more projects. So
yes, awesome.
Can't wait to see them both. And thanks so much. And we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye.